Outside of the Echo Chamber, the official I Dream of Indie Games podcast is brought to you by you, the gamer. If you'd like to join our mission to support indie visibility, head over to patreon.com/idreamofindiegames and bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming. All right, everybody, welcome to I Dream of Indie Games Outside of the Echo Chamber. I am Old Gamer Joe, here with Silent Signs and Barely Magic Mike. This is the return of our podcast, which has been dormant for, gosh, I don't know, Silent Signs, how long now?
At least 6 months.
At least 6 months, yeah. And you know, it was something that I really wanted to do. I wanted to bring back, but it was just a matter of not having time. Time is the problem in my life these days. How about you, Barely Magic Mike? How do you find time to play all these great indie games and juggle a job and all these other wonderful things in your life?
By sacrificing other things, like sleep and being social. No, I don't sacrifice being social that much, but sometimes I'm just like, I don't feel like going to get brunch, guys. I just wanna play my games, do a couple runs of Slay the Spire, whatever.
Yeah, fair enough. Gosh, I just wish I had like infinite time. If I could cast a magical spell, Silent Signs, it would be time would freeze and I would just be able to do as much as possible in that window.
That you would clone yourself.
No, I don't think I want two of me. I feel like we would get into arguments. If I had myself to talk to all day, I don't know, would we irritate one another or would we love one another?
Well, speaking from experience of dealing with you, you would get mad at one another for not getting enough done during the day.
How do you feel you would handle your clone, Barely Magic Mike?
I think I'd get pretty annoyed with myself. I think I would.
Let's go around the room now. Before we are going to talk about indie games at some point here, but let's go around the room just to kind of get a feel for things. What would annoy you the most about you? We'll start with Silent Signs.
What annoys me most about myself?
Yeah, so say there is this theoretical clone of yourself in the room or everywhere, shopping with you, all of these things. What do you think would be your biggest annoyance?
Well, my biggest annoyance with myself is that I am indecisive, so I imagine my clone would be equally indecisive and we would just never get anything done.
You wouldn't know where to go.
Where do you want to go to dinner? I don't know. Well, what do you want to eat? I don't know.
And Mike, how about you?
Oh God, I think it's like sort of along the similar lines where I have so little discipline with certain things in my life. Like when I want to eat like really good food that I shouldn't actually be eating, or if I want to go to the gym but I don't actually want to go to the gym, like my clone and I would be goading each other into like eating the worst bullshit and never working out ever and just being very irresponsible.
So basically you would get fat together is what you're saying.
Oh, totally. Yeah. It would be great. It would be fun, but you know, there are downsides.
Yeah, I think I would have a similar issue because I just love eating. I've become a bit of a foodie over the last few years, I feel like. Trying more fine dining than I've ever tried in my whole life. And that's a bad addiction, I have to say. It's an expensive addiction because I end up going to these restaurants and what were once like $40, $50 dinners are now becoming $100 dinners. And that's probably not a habit I should keep up.
I totally agree with that.
Why not? Because it's a good way to go broke.
And be fat and sassy. What's wrong with that?
But like, I just can always, in my mind, I can always justify buying amazing food because it's so worth it every time to me. I don't know if y'all feel the same.
Oh yeah. Did I tell you guys about where my husband and I went for our anniversary?
I think you mentioned $128 steak or something along those lines.
Yeah, we went to this place and they had a Wagyu 8-ounce filet mignon and it was $125. And he was like, no, I am not spending that much on an entree. And I was like, I decided to just goad him into it. I was like, come on, it's our 1-year anniversary. We got married a year ago today. Like we can splurge on it a little. It was the best steak either of us had ever had. And now we just want to go back and order it again. And I'm like, well, this is a great way to have no money anymore.
Yeah. So if you both got the steak, $250 plus tip, you could do worse with $250, right?
You could do worse. I don't know if that's... Yeah, you could do worse. We'll leave it at that. You could do worse.
Just think of, we were at the casino recently, the people that just dropped $250 within probably 20 minutes. Like, I think we were talking a little bit about this when we were together for the Game Awards, how you did a little bit of gambling. You're not a big gambler, much like me, and you tried one of the slot machines, and it's a quick way to make $20 evaporate, in my experience.
Yeah, and in the least fun way possible. Like, there was nothing enjoyable about oh, it's so not for me.
Silent Signs, what's the quickest you ever evaporated money?
Just like paying bills count
No, I'm talking about like just for entertainment. Like,
for fun.
yeah.
Travel.
Travel? Okay. That
Because
evaporates it pretty quick.
You don't really have anything physical to show for it while you're having like a life memory and it's exciting. It's gone. There it goes. There goes the, couple $100 for a flight, hotel, what have you.
But I feel like the memory is forever at least, right?
Yes.
And you totally can have something physical to show for it. We take our travel photos and there's a site called Mix Tiles where you can kind of make them on these little tiles that easily stick to the wall. So I have them like going up my stairs, like all of our travel
I should
photos.
do that.
It's great.
You're so smart, Mike.
Oh, thank you so much.
And speaking of trips, you recently mentioned to me, Mike, that you're going to Antarctica, which sounds absolutely dreadful to me, but there are arguments out there that people find it very beautiful and it's a lovely place to visit. Now, I live in New England, which this makes this even crazier, but I hate the cold. So what has driven you to Antarctica and wanting to go on this trip?
Okay, so you guys know my husband and I love traveling, but the biggest theme with our travel is that we want it centered on nature and animals. So, I mean, this past year, we went to the Galapagos Islands, very similar theme. I had never been somewhere before that people and animals lived in such harmony rather than people destroying the natural habitats of the animals. So going somewhere that is so, I mean, not to be like cynical, but so untouched by human greed is such a huge thing for us. Like, yeah, it's an expensive trip. It's a difficult trip, but there will be no experience we will ever have quite like it.
Are you planning to sleep with a penguin?
Like sexually, no, but
I didn't mean it that way, but
but yeah.
Well,
no,
Silent Signs was mentioning in the car just now. You can sleep with a penguin apparently if you go to Antarctica.
Yeah, I
Something
think
with the penguins.
I think exactly what you were talking about is what we are going to do. So we are buying an add-on that lets you stay in a tent on the ice overnight, and apparently penguins do come out and visit. Apparently they're also pretty stanky, but they're cute. They can be a little stinky.
I feel like that's going to be the worst night's sleep you ever have in your life.
Totally. I'm looking forward to not sleeping a wink.
What do you wear out there?
A lot.
I don't even
like
know.
Thermal
yet.
gear?
Yeah, I know they give you stuff. Like they give you like a parka and some warm weather, like warm clothing. But I don't know. I still need to learn a little bit more about that.
Anyways, folks, enough out of us. We are here to talk about indie games, believe it or not. That is what this podcast is all about. Outside of the echo chamber, it's back at last, and we're going to be delivering it to patrons every Monday. That's right, around noontime or so, along with upcoming indies. That's for everybody at the Indie Warrior tier and beyond. And then you folks over in the local feeds, the public feeds, whatever you want to call them, you will get this show Thursday in that handy-dandy new podcast section right over on our YouTube channel. But we're also on Spotify, and if your friend hooked us up in the past, right, I believe we're also on iHeart, Silent Signs, and what's the other one? The popular,
Don't quote me on that.
the Apple one there, iTunes, whatever it is nowadays. It's probably not been iTunes in years. Apple Podcast, is that what it's called now?
Yes.
Apple Podcast as well. So we should be on all the majors. However you want to listen to us, you can. I'm a Spotify guy myself. We have a Spotify subscription, so I enjoy it quite a bit. But you can also listen right through YouTube, which is something I don't personally do, but a lot of people do. Do you listen to any podcasts through YouTube, guys?
I used to, but then those podcasts stopped.
Yeah, I always listen through Spotify like you. Yeah.
Very cool.
love
So you have
Spotify.
options, and if you are on YouTube, you can check out the links in the description box below to listen to your favorite indie gaming channel however you wish. So I thought it would be fun today to take a little bit of a look ahead to 2025, seeing we are heading into the new year, or technically we're in the new year now. I still feel like I'm stuck in 2024 a little bit. Have your brains changed over to 25 yet?
I don't know. I had such a busy end of 2024, not even just with the holidays, like work in the final couple weeks of 2024 was really busy, and it's normally slow, but felt like I didn't quite get a break. So this weekend I've been doing kind of a lot of nothing and, maybe this coming week I'll feel a little bit more.
My brain's
motivation.
actually trapped in the MetaQuest 3, and I'm not in reality any longer, so it doesn't matter what year it is.
Yes.
Yes,
I
we
love
will
that
get
for you.
into our Christmas present, the MetaQuest, which is something we're really excited about for 2025. But also, we're going to look at some of those old flat screen games that y'all love so much, the indie games that we're excited about for 2025. And actually, I do have a list on the channel. It came out back in November, believe it or not. Maybe some of you missed it out there,
Yeah.
of 15 must-play indie games set to launch this year. I'm going to be referencing that a little bit for this podcast. I know Mike has a giant wish list of games. He's going to talk about some of the ones he's excited about. And yeah, I didn't really get a huge break either because of the holiday and there was a lot going on. Normally it's the channel that keeps me super busy, but things kind of died after I created the Indie Awards show that we all got together for, and there wasn't much coming out. But now things are heating up a little bit, even though limited releases in January. So let's start the show with that. What's coming out in January, Mike, that you're very much excited about? I can think of one off the top of my head, but if there's any others, please feel free to shout them out.
Yeah, there are definitely some smaller titles coming out around the middle of January. Like there's a mystery sort of point and click game called The Root Trees Are Dead coming out on the 15th, which I kind of have my eye on. I've been really into mystery games ever since playing The Case of the Golden Idol and absolutely adoring every single second of it. So stuff like that and Return of the Obra Dinn and now Rise of the Golden Idol, which I'm playing. I love that kind of stuff. So Root Trees Are Dead looks kind of interesting for that. And then at the end of the month, we have The Stone of Madness, Tales of Iron 2, and Citizen Sleeper 2, which I am personally most excited about, and hoping I'll get a chance to review it. But definitely been very, very eager for that one ever since playing the first Citizen Sleeper, which is an incredible game. I think the closest thing I would relate Citizen Sleeper to, it's almost like a mini Disco Elysium, maybe, but with a much more sci-fi sort of tone. You play as a sleeper who, and this is I'm referencing my brain from a couple years ago, so I might mess up some details, but my memory tells me that a sleeper is a sort of an AI, like an artificial human who was basically sold into slavery, kind of like people would make money in the future by uploading their consciousness to like this AI that would then work as slave labor, and then you escaped as a sleeper and are trying to make a life for yourself on the space colony called the Eye, while trying to kind of keep yourself alive. And you have to take this medicine every so often that keeps you alive. And I'm sure I messed up some details there because it's been so long, but it's a really, really cool sci-fi story. And you meet a lot of interesting characters. The writing is great, like really consistently great. I wouldn't say it's as long as Disco Elysium or any other sort of tabletop RPGs that it takes some inspiration from. It probably took me about 10 hours, but I really appreciate games that are that short these days, especially if they're RPGs, so I think a lot of people would.
Yeah, I never played the original myself, so I might start there before I jump into the sequel. I understand there's a bit of chance involved with the gameplay, is that correct?
Yeah, there is. Again, from what I remember, you have a select number of dice to use for each, or die, I guess, I don't know, to use for each sort of decision you make, and how high valued your dice is will sort of determine the success rate of that decision. But different things will be like deciding where you want to work that day, or which character you want to help, or there's definitely a heavy element of choice as well. But yeah, definitely some randomness with the dice.
And then as far as the sequel, is that going to be like directly tied in, taking over from where the last game left off? Do you know any details on that? Or is it going to be a whole new experience? Do you think new players will be able to jump right into Citizen Sleeper 2?
You know, ironically, despite my excitement for the sequel, I kind of have a rule with games I'm really excited for that I look up as little as possible and I go into them totally blind. So
yeah, sounds good. How about you, Silent Signs? 2025, anything on your radar so far?
I got a bunch of stuff, actually. Shockingly. I know.
Let's hear it. The mic is yours. The floor is yours, as they say.
Okay. Well, the first thing, I don't know when it's coming out in 2025, but Beneath the Frost is coming from Not a Sailor Studios, which I know I've beat this to death, but Buddy Simulator 1984 is one of my favorite games I've played in the last 5 years easily. From the same team, it's a psychological horror. You're like crash landed, I think, on a planet that's desolate and you're trying to find signs of life. Don't know much about it. They're being pretty cagey about all the details of it, but it looks really cool.
Yeah, I really liked the previous game from them.
Buddy Simulator?
Buddy Simulator.
Great game. Great game.
That does look cool.
Another one is Big Walk, which I believe you had on your list as well, from the team behind Untitled Goose Game.
Yes, Big Walk is one I wanted to mention. Yep.
And Panic, which I basically just love everything that Panic puts out. So
I'm going to actually pull up that footage right here.
yeah, so Big Walk from the development team behind Untitled Goose Game and the publisher of such fantastic titles as Thank Goodness You're Here. I don't know what this game is entirely.
I kind of feel the same. I'm looking at footage of it right now, and that's kind of what's intriguing about it.
It says it's like an uncooperative multiplayer game, which sounds hilarious.
It has a weird look to it.
I love the really abstract character design of whatever is going on here.
It seems that it's going to have like a multiplayer focus.
Yes.
Definitely going to be more multiplayer focused than Untitled Goose Game was.
But it just looks hilarious. I feel like there will be many laughs to be had playing that.
Well, I think it's cool too that the developer is going to try something entirely different and not just do another Untitled Goose Game and kind of beat that to death. So.
Yeah. Also, while we're on the subject of Panic, I don't know if it's coming out this year because it says coming soon still on Steam, but has anybody seen Blippo Plus?
I watched the trailer and I don't know how to describe it either. It looks like it will be different and I will want to play it. With the way this looks, they're totally releasing it on the play date. I refuse to believe otherwise.
So it's from the publisher that did Untitled Goose Game, and Thank Goodness You're Here, it looks like?
So it's from developer Blippo Plus.
So this must be Panic,
but
right?
it's from Panic,
Yeah,
yes.
okay, gotcha.
I don't know what this is.
Kind of like the last game we were just talking about.
But I'm fascinated. I love Panic. God bless Panic.
I do too. Not only was Thank Goodness You're Here amazing, I mean, we beat that one to death, but I'm probably like 2/3 of the way through Arco, and my God, Arco's really good.
I feel like Panic is purposely seeking out these very abstract, weird indie releases that stand out for their unique art styles and aren't necessarily like what a lot of people think of when they think of indie games. Like they're not taking on these Metroidvanias or these 2D action games so much. They're really trying something different. They're taking a lot of risks with the developers that they're taking on.
Yeah, have you seen the other game being published by them? I don't know for sure if it's 2025. But it's called Herdling. It's by Okomotive, the same developer as Far Lone Sails and Far Changing Tides. Also really, really great games. Like that developer definitely is quality. But Herdling looks really interesting. I don't totally know what it is either, but there's a beauty in that.
Got a couple other games on my list.
Sure, go ahead.
Sure. Okay. Did you know there's another Duck Detective game coming out in 2025?
I did not put it on this list, but I think it was announced just after I made it. That's a pretty recent announcement, right?
I believe so. They didn't announce when in 2025 it's coming out, so hopefully it actually comes out in 2025. But
feels like a quick turnaround, doesn't it?
The Ghost of Glamping is the title of that one. Which
now, is this going to be the same deal, you think, where they have the deductions and you're kind of just going around
sure it is.
talking to people, investigating, putting together clues? It almost seems like easy to play, like not challenging at all, short but sweet kind of experience, something to turn your brain off with.
Yeah, there was a little bit of challenge to Duck Detective. It wasn't that bad, but one of the critiques of my review was kind of the challenge sometimes felt like it came from the wrong places. Like you had to make deductions that you would never really, the situations in the world weren't really fleshed out enough for you to make the sort of guesses they wanted you to make sometimes. But I hope they improve on that with this one because I still did really enjoy it. It was very cute.
It's just adorable.
Loved the voice acting for the duck.
Yeah. Kind of similar vein to that, there's a Mouse PI for Hire.
Really?
I don't know if you've seen.
Yes.
No, I've not seen this.
Oh, you
Y'all
gotta
are
check
ahead of
that
me
out.
on the releases here. I gotta wake up and
So
start looking at
cool.
what's coming out here.
If you love the like classic cartoon style, you gotta see that one.
What's it called again?
Mouse PI for Hire.
Mouse PI. Hold on, I've got way too many tabs open on my computer.
Yeah, looks like if Cuphead was a black and white first-person shooter.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember this now.
Yeah.
Almost like that classic Walt Disney look.
Exactly.
To it. Yeah. That did look really cool.
Uh-huh.
I wonder how it's gonna play. Because it looks so cool. I could see it not playing well.
Hopefully well, because I want to play it.
Sometimes those art styles don't always carry into having good gameplay necessarily.
That
but,
is true. Like, what was it? Enchanted Portals. Sorry,
Yes.
Enchanted Portals.
Though, Cuphead, obviously, well-loved, great game. A little too hard for me, but still a great game.
Yeah. So, I mean.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting if they can pull that thing off. That's been, lingering for quite some time, that game. So we'll see. It will finally come out here in 2025.
Annapurna's got a game coming out called Mixtape.
Mixtape I've heard a little bit on.
Narrative
Yep.
adventure.
Yeah.
About summer break. Looks kind of charming to change the pace from detectives and shooting things.
I'm sensing a theme with your game so far.
Oh, it looks beautiful.
Yeah. I love Annapurna. They've got some really interesting
me too.
releases as well.
Actually, a really great publisher.
Yeah.
Aren't they the publisher where everybody just up and left from the
Yeah.
publishing division?
That was
recently?
recent, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully
Which, we'll see what happens here.
not a sign of
Yeah, I
things
wonder-
to come. But
Yeah, I wonder how these projects are being carried through to completion.
Well, I think my understanding is it wasn't a huge staff. I remember hearing that any products they had announced were going to be unaffected by everything. So,
speaking of replaced, have you seen the game Replaced?
not at all.
Yes.
No.
Pixel art style
Yeah.
game.
If it ever comes out.
If it ever
I'm
comes
not-
out, it's still
I'm not counting on 2025.
still
but we'll see.
TBD, but let's hope that it comes out this year. It's published by Thunderful, which we've always enjoyed. working
Thunderfall,
with.
yes.
Butcher's Creek horror game. Looks pretty cool.
Oh, is that like a horror?
It's like a
Condemned?
kind of like nostalgic themed horror game, like many of
Yeah,
the
I think-
games that come out these days are.
Oh, like a retro survival horror type
Exactly.
deal? Like,
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I got a pretty strong Condemned vibe from it. So
That's what they're going
will
for.
be we'll be very interested in that one.
yeah,
Especially
but remember,
after
you got that
Numata
vibe
sucked.
with Numata, too.
Yeah,
So.
well, maybe
We don't speak of that one. We don't talk about it.
All right. And
Shout out to our Indie Krampus playlist if you want
Last-
to learn more about Numata.
last but not least, and I don't know, this doesn't really count as indie, I don't think, but I'm really excited to play it. And I also don't even know if it's going to come out in 2025, but Reanimal,
Oh, Reanimal is from
yeah.
the Little Nightmares
Little
team,
Nightmare
right?
Studio.
That looks awesome.
Yeah.
I would probably say more
Yeah.
like in that double A category.
I know, but it looks
we
so
cover those
cool.
two.
It looks so cool.
Yeah, isn't Bandai Namco doing that? Just like they did Little
it's
Nightmares?
THQ Nordic.
Oh, it's THQ. Okay, cool. No, it does look very haunting, and I like the Little Nightmares games quite a bit. In fact, isn't the third one coming out scheduled for this year, too?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is scheduled for this year. We'll see how it goes. I forget who's developed. Is that Supermassive that's developing it?
Think so, yeah.
Because that concerns me. Yep, it is Supermassive. Yeah, that I will wait to hear other people's impressions on that one. I don't think. Maybe unpopular opinion. I don't think Supermassive has made a single good game since Until Dawn.
Yeah, they weren't responsible for the remake either, were they?
No, I don't think they were, which might be a good thing based on what I heard about it. But the Dark Pictures games, they so did not do it for me. The ones I played, I thought at least I played the first couple at least, and I thought they were awful, like really, really awful.
That's a bummer to hear because Until Dawn was by far my favorite PlayStation 4 game.
It was neat. It was a very
I love that game so much.
experience at the time.
Yeah, and you're right. I haven't really seen them having a hit ever since then. Messing
Yeah,
around with those Dark Pictures games, and they did some other stuff too, right?
Yeah, I think that Little Nightmares will be an interesting franchise for them, though, because I feel like by far their weakest point is writing. The writing is really frequently very bad for games that are so focused on their story. But Little Nightmares, I mean, we're not talking about any dialogue at all. At least if they're sticking with that. So if they can really sort of be let loose to focus on sort of creature design and atmosphere and all that, and not have cringy writing that takes me out of it every few minutes, that could be a win. I mean, it totally could be.
Only time will tell.
Sounds nice. You mind if I shout out a 2025 release, potential one, anyways? Here.
I'll just give you my last one really quick.
Oh, you only got one more? Okay, cool.
I don't know if it's going to come out this year or not, but Toem 2.
Oh, Toem 2, yes.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the original quite a bit.
Yeah.
Was kind of surprised to see it's getting a sequel.
Yeah, kind of excited to see that it was
Pretty
getting
cool.
a sequel. All right, that's all I got.
That's all you got?
Yep.
All right, cool.
I want to shout out some weird games.
Yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. You guys have to look this up if you haven't heard of it. It's called Esophagize.
Okay. I have not
like an
heard of it.
esophagus? Like
Yes.
what?
Exactly like an esophagus.
I'm trying to
But
figure out how I'll even
esophagitis.
spell this.
ESO
Esophagitis.
PH.
PHA.
You know what? I actually nailed the spelling. Somehow I got that right. Interesting. Esophagitis. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that looks very phallic.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta do this.
Yeah, I'm getting super major heave ho vibes. If you remember heave ho, which I thought was like one of the funniest local co-op games I've ever played.
What was the wiener game where the wieners fought each
Genital
other?
jousting.
Genital jousting.
This doesn't
Yeah,
quite look like that.
Yeah.
Kind of
that
reminds me
too.
of that a bit.
This looks fun though. I declare a game night when this comes out.
It looks
absolutely.
kind of gross though at the same time.
It's hilarious.
Oh yeah. It looks deliciously gross.
Wow.
My next one is not, I guess it's not super weird as much as it is interesting, like an interesting game concept. And Joe, I think I turned you on to this one if you might have looked it up before, but Blood Typers.
Oh, yeah.
Typing-based survival horror game.
Yeah, this looks neat.
Very interesting looking game. I'm not super big on survival horror myself, but having a typing version of it, I mean,
Yeah.
it could totally fall
Ooh.
flat, or it could be Cryptmaster meets Resident Evil, which sounds really, really interesting to try.
This is
Yeah.
next month too, which
It
is exciting.
Yes.
Outer Brain
Yeah.
Studios. Anyone hear of them before? I don't think I have.
Negative.
It does look like it's going to have an online co-op to it, which is nice. So maybe it's something we can play together.
Yeah, how that works with the typing game, I can't even imagine.
Did
but-
you try the demo? It looks like there's a demo on Steam.
Oh, really? No,
Yeah.
I did not try the demo yet.
Yeah, so maybe give that a spin. You'll have a decent feel for if it's going to be something you enjoy or not. But I do like the art on it quite a bit. And I enjoy typing games, even though I fuck up my typing all the time, so I'm probably going to be bad at this.
I'm a pretty good typer.
I enjoyed
Typist.
Typing of the Dead and games like that in the past, so obviously Cryptmaster in recent times. Yeah, that looks
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely an interesting one. And Silent Signs, you mentioned Beneath the Frost, but I had originally thought you were talking about a different game that is just called Beneath that is coming out in 2025. Very interesting looking sort of deep sea survival horror,
Ooh.
which looks
Not for those that like
Very
going that
interesting.
are dislike going underwater.
So you.
yes.
Yeah. We have quite a few members of our
Definitely not.
Discord that are terrified of the ocean, so
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, this looks very.
Very
Stylish.
much underwater.
I like the
Yep.
view underwater though. That's cool.
Okay, it's first person shooting.
I will be bad at this, but it looks-
Yes, and you'll probably be motion sick as well.
Though that's why I will be bad at it.
Yeah, if
I'll
you don't know
probably
out
be
there,
bad at it,
everyone,
too.
Silent Signs and first person shooters don't go well together.
No, it's not my fault. I've tried for years.
Dramamine, everything.
I don't want to like drug myself to play video games. You know, that just doesn't feel.
Yeah. In fact, I was looking recently at some ways to curb VR sickness, which I do get, but only in games that I'm fully controlling the character for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I guess our brains just aren't wired for that yet. And apparently, Dramamine's the one thing that comes up, but I don't really want
Yeah.
to take a pill. But also,
Exactly.
blowing a fan on you, apparently,
Yeah.
while playing is
We've
helpful.
tried that before.
So it like, keeps you cool. But supposedly, the real trick is just slowly play VR every day and get used to it. And you'll eventually not get ill, apparently. But I tried to play Batman recently. And
Oh.
I just felt awful.
Speaking of, are there any
really?
Yes, awful. For like 2 hours.
That's a shame.
are there any cool VR games anyone's looking forward to in 2025?
Yes. So, nice little transition here.
Thank you.
Got the Meta Quest 3, right? Is that what model we're on?
Yes.
For Christmas. Silent Signs. Amazing present, by the way. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This thing is awesome. I had not realized how far VR had came because I've been out of the game since the original PSVR, and I found it so cumbersome to use, so annoying.
Mostly
But
because of the wires.
the wires and just the camera and the moves I think you were using at the time.
Yeah.
Right? The whole thing was just not intuitive. So they've come a long ways since then, and I just love the fact that VR is completely wireless now, and the fact that you can play it pretty much anywhere. Like we were laying in bed the other day and just
Playing
strapped this thing
Tetris.
on and played some Tetris. And it's really effective. I just think they've come a long, long ways from that early couple of models of VR. I'm very impressed with it so far. So I bring all of this up because we're probably going to be covering quite a few meta games this year on the channel. Hopefully, if a lot come out.
Or Steam VR in general.
Or Steam VR in general, right? So that's going to be something that you folks out there that are VR enthusiasts can look forward to. Mike, have you enjoyed your meta so far? I think you have all the VR headsets, right?
Yeah, so I've been a big VR nerd from the beginning. I pre-ordered the first Oculus Rift, not the development kits, but like the first, on the market Oculus Rift back in 2016, and I've been kind of working my way through the upgrades ever since, and it is amazing how far it has come. I mean, I used to have to set sensors up all around my room, and if one of them would, if a wire got brushed by my dog and then it would shift direction a little bit, I would have to like reconfigure everything, and it was a huge pain, and I still did it. But now, I mean, the technology is insane. Mixed reality is super cool. I mean, I totally understand if people, don't want to support Meta and get the headset, but I feel like they are almost single-handedly moving the VR medium forward.
How easy to use it is, how the store is integrated into it. You're not going through like a PlayStation store where it's multiple steps. It's a little dangerous because my credit card is saved in there and I can easily just buy song packs and stuff to my favorite game, Synth Riders. I've been buying all the song packs. It's just very, very accessible now compared to what it was. And that's probably the coolest thing about the whole VR thing right now, is that it's becoming more accessible. But is it too late is the question. Is it always going to be a niche? I think so, but can it be enough of a niche where it continues on? What do you think, Silent Signs?
I'm really not sure. I think it's going to depend on the youth. Like, what are the youth picking up and enjoying? Like, do people our age play games? Obviously, yes. But what's driving profit is the youth, which is why things like Fortnite and Minecraft have become so successful, because that's what the youth pick up and play. So I think if they can get into that niche of like the youth market, then they'll succeed. And I think there are some things in the Meta Store already that do that. Like, what is it, Gorilla Tag? That's really big with the youth.
It's one of those things where you got to get more people into it. You got to get them to try it and really experience it, because I still get this sense every time I put that thing on of like, holy cow, this is like a new way to experience games that's so immersive that I almost feel like sometimes going back to the flat screen feels a little underwhelming in comparison to what I was just dealing with.
Yeah.
Something like Tetris Effect. It's like transformative.
So, yeah,
It really is.
Not to dodge your question, but I think it's really going to depend on what software they have that's going to attract the younger generation.
Mike, what are your thoughts on the future of VR? I think VR is in kind of a difficult place where, we just published this video I did about how, safe AAA publishers have been becoming, and they don't really want to take risks on anything a lot of the time, with some exceptions. And I think that has really impacted the VR space, where there aren't, actually 2024 was a pretty good year for this, surprisingly, but there aren't a ton of big developers willing to make VR games because they're not going to sell a whole lot. Some of the biggest and best have been funded by Meta themselves or by Sony. I think Sony funded those Resident Evil VR ports on PlayStation VR 2, which are pretty cool, and Meta funded Batman and Asgard's Wrath 2. And we have a couple other sort of big players in the VR space, but people, unfortunately, I think there are some great indie games on the MetaQuest that more than make it worth the 300 smackaroos it costs. But people want to see the big games, the pretty games, the 100-hour games, and there really isn't very much of that at all right now. And I'm curious if there ever really will be, or if this is kind of where it's at. I'm kind of happy with where VR is. I think there are some improvements that could be made, but my biggest concern is like, are big publishers like Sony still going to fund it? They haven't really supported the PlayStation VR 2 very well with exclusives, in my opinion. And that's what people want to see. So I don't know.
No, I feel like the PSVR 2 has more or less been a disaster, right? As someone who owns one, what are kind of the pros and cons of it?
As someone who owns one, I would say I fully regret my purchase. Sorry, Sony.
Hey, it takes a strong man to admit that.
I really regret it. I think that There were some very cool features with it, like dynamic foveated rendering, which for anybody who doesn't know what that is, there's a device inside the headset that tracks the movement of your eyes and will make it so that in games that support it, it will make it so that what you are directly looking at is rendered at the highest resolution, and things sort of off in your peripheral are rendered at a lower resolution to save hugely on performance. So it can make games look really, really good. And I kind of can't wait until that technology is in the MetaQuest headsets. But, I think that there have been a ton of hiccups. I mean, one is that Sony really has not supported it with anything very worthwhile. I mean, it's all pretty niche stuff. I mean, they have Resident Evil in VR, which is great. They have Gran Turismo in VR, which is great. But survival horror is kind of, not everybody's into that, especially in VR when it can be very scary. Simulation racing, everybody, that's definitely sort of a niche thing. And I played around in it for a little bit, but I don't really know anything about cars. It's not really my jam. They made a Horizon VR game that was like 5 hours long and cost $50. I mean, it was pretty fun, but it wasn't anything crazy. And I did not blame people for not wanting to spend $50 on it. It was just too much. So I don't know. And the headset itself, very uncomfortable. There are some sort of third-party mods you can get to make it more comfortable, but it really hurts my head after a while. And the controllers, I don't know. I never figure out how to put the damn things on. They're so confusing. The charger that you get with it is like terrible. It's impossible to like snap them in place. There are just tons of little things with the PlayStation VR 2 that I'm like, I don't know. This feels like one step forward, two steps back for VR.
Yeah, shout out, by the way, to you, Barely Magic Mike, because I did update my head strap on my MetaQuest 3. The one it comes with is fine, I would say, but not ideal. But the real problem was just the fact that the battery life was around 2 hours, and strangely, we didn't think we would be playing longer sessions than that, but that 2 hours goes by pretty fast when you're playing Synth Riders or Beat Saber or something like that.
Totally.
And so the battery was just dying, and it's about an hour and a half to recharge it. So we got this Kiwi comfort head strap that you recommended me off of Amazon, and that's made a world of difference. It's so much easier to put on. I'm still, unfortunately, a glasses wearer, which can be tough with VR. I think Silent Signs feels the same way, fitting it over. But this makes it a lot easier to at least put it over your glasses, and hopefully I'm going to have LASIK this year. We'll see, and I won't have to deal with that anymore. But for you glasses folks out there, that's a nice little thing to pick up if you are going to get a Meta at some point. The Kiwi head strap has been a lifesaver, and I feel like it probably get about 4 or 5 hours out of the thing now. So I greatly enjoy it.
Yeah. Did you get the controller straps too?
Not yet. I know you mentioned they're pretty big deal as far as a game changer. I've not had major issues with the default controller so far myself. I don't know if you feel the same, Silent Signs.
Yeah, we haven't played.
There's like a couple moments where I felt like I was just going to throw the thing entirely.
That's sort of the idea. So it really will depend on which game you play. You'll never notice it in Tetris Effect or something like that. But what the controller straps, I think they're the AMVR controller straps, if I remember correctly. What they do is they strap the controller to your hand so that you can just let go of it and it won't fall. So that in any, more complex game, like where you're throwing things like throwing a grenade or throwing an object at, somebody or something, it can make a big difference because it feels like actually throwing as opposed to having to like kind of throw, but also don't drop the controller because it's just, because then it'll fall out of your hands. So it depends what you're playing, but it can be a definite increase to immersion.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. That's probably going to be my next investment there. So that's where we are with VR. I guess that's a long-winded way of saying that we are going to be covering more meta stuff, more VR stuff in general for 2025. In fact, Barely Magic Mike has a list, I think, coming up in the next couple weeks, whenever you schedule it, it's going to be 10 indie games that you can play on the Meta right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I cannot wait to do a list like that. And there's actually one coming up in January that looks pretty good. I don't know. Did you guys ever play Super Hot VR? Have you gotten to that one yet?
I've played Super Hot regular, not VR.
Okay, Super Hot VR it's kind of the same game as regular Super Hot, but it's a huge upgrade to do it in VR and huge upgrade. But it's very short. there's not really a whole lot to it, and I think a lot of people have wanted more sort of similar content and haven't really gotten it. But on the 21st, we have Cold VR coming out. I think just on Steam. I don't know if it's coming to the MetaQuest store quite yet, but
which, by the way, not to
like
interrupt, we
super
should
hot.
shout out the integration between Meta and Steam is perfectly fine in my experience. I'm actually playing wirelessly a lot of Steam games through the Meta headset, so that's cool too.
Yeah, it does tend to work very well. Occasionally I'll have a disconnection issue or something, but it definitely works very well. But anyway, one game I'm excited for, Cold VR, it seems like super hot in reverse, where sort of like the faster you move, the more time slows down, is kind of what I'm getting from the description, and it looks pretty intense for VR shooter fans, which is typically the only time I like a shooter in VR.
I'm kind of surprised they haven't dived back into Super Hot, because it was very successful. I wouldn't mind seeing more of it, and maybe a longer, more fleshed out campaign. So,
Well, hey, you never know.
yeah, we'll see in the future. I'll go back to some of the games I'm looking forward to here in 2025 now. We've talked enough about VR, I'd say. If you aren't a VR fan, you're probably bored. Sorry, but, it's my new little gadget in the house right now. A game I'm looking forward to in 2025 is Possessors, which is coming to us from Devolver Digital. It is being developed by Heart Machine, and we don't have a ton of details on it just yet, Silent Signs, but just knowing that it's from Devolver has me excited, and it's from the creators of Hyperlight and Solar Act.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm pretty much
So-
excited about anything that Devolver really releases, usually.
So yeah, based on the little bit of footage we got, it looks very stylish, going to be action-packed, and it has a great pedigree behind it. Have you heard anything on Possessors, Mike?
Apparently I have, because it was already on my wish list, but I didn't remember, which happens a lot to me, but it looks gorgeous.
It does so far, based, again,
looks
limited
like a-
footage, but
Probably from one of those Devolver showcases, I just immediately add to wish list.
Yeah, I do that all the time. Yeah, it looks really great.
though I will say Devolver's maybe last year to 2 years haven't been quite the quality I've come to expect from them, but still, they put out a lot of good games. What did they put out last year? Angerfoot, right?
Plucky Squire.
Plucky Squire.
Yeah, definitely a fan of that one. But yeah, some of the other ones, like the Crush House, I know you guys didn't really like. Sumerian 6 seemed kinda eh. I personally was not much a fan of Pepper Grinder, even though I was really looking forward to it.
I actually didn't hate that game.
It didn't really resonate with
Yeah,
me.
it was okay.
I had a love-hate
So-
relationship with that one.
I just feel they haven't had like that banger title in a while. Maybe it's just me though.
Yeah, the last game I really loved from Devolver. I'm trying to think. I mean, Inscription, certainly. That was,
That was what I was
2021
thinking of.
now.
And I looked that up recently. That was like 2022 or something.
Yeah,
right?
it's been a little
The
while.
game is older than I thought it was.
But isn't
Yeah.
there gonna be another game from?
Oh yes, that's actually on my list. Which I
Yeah.
didn't put it in the video either. But
How dare!
Pony Island 2, which I love the original Pony Island.
Yeah.
If you aren't familiar, Pony Island could best be described as like a devilish micro games.
A demon possessed arcade cabinet
Yeah.
with a story. That's how I would describe it.
Did you play the original, Mike?
Yeah, I did. I haven't played the Hex, which was his game
Oh, yeah.
after that.
I also
Danny
haven't,
Boyle's
yeah.
game. I would like to, because he's one of those creators who I feel like, fans definitely don't underrate him, but I feel like more people should be playing his games. I think they're all of them, not just Inscription, which certainly got quite a following, but he makes some interesting stuff, and Pony Island 2 looks like no exception.
Another game I'm very much looking forward to, and this is a weird one for me to be into because it's kind of a dating game, but it's called Date Everything. And the whole concept of this game is basically you date inanimate objects around your home or your apartment or wherever you are, and they'll turn into characters, kind of based on the attributes of whatever that item was. So
Weird.
as the Steam page reads here, there's a bed that's going to turn into someone that you can fall in love with, a smoke alarm, stuff like that. And that just seems so oddball, unusual. Again, I'm not Mr. Dating Sim,
Can
but
I romance my coffee maker?
I'm pretty sure you can.
Oh, baby.
But what it will turn into, I have no idea. And it looks so stupid that I'm kind of into it. They're saying mature content here, like bad language
Oh my
and
God,
sexual innuendos.
Is that gentleman a refrigerator? Sir.
Oh, tobacco reference. That's a bad one,
Oh.
apparently. Can't have those tobacco references.
So taboo.
But no, this game looks strangely awesome in a weird way. So I've kind of been looking forward to that. And it's coming out on Valentine's Day.
Of course it is.
So y'all heard anything on that? Or Mike, I should say. I know Silent Signs is looking at it with me now.
I've heard of it. Dating sims just don't resonate with me. No disrespect to people who love them, but I've never played one that I've enjoyed. But maybe I just haven't played the right one.
I only enjoy the incredibly silly ones, the ones that absolutely do not
that's
take
kind of
themselves
why
seriously.
I put that on my list, is just because it looks so ridiculous.
Yeah. I should try Dream Daddy.
Yeah.
I never tried that one.
That or what's the one with the pigeons?
Hatoful
Boyfriend.
Yes, thank you. Hatoful Boyfriend.
Like dumb stuff like that,
Yeah.
I think is so stupid that it's kind of fun.
Another genre here that I know that Mike's not into, but I'm also looking forward to is I was a big fan of the original Kathy Rain, which was a great stylish point-and-click adventure game. And they're doing a sequel, to my surprise. It's coming from Raw Fury, who I think is a really, really great publisher.
Yeah.
Most of the games they put out, I end up at least enjoying a little bit.
I remember Kathy Rain.
And Kathy Rain 2, it just looks awesome. They've really, just the artwork looks awesome in this game. And I know, Mike, you don't like your point and clicks, but I happen to enjoy them from time to time. And I think that one looks great. Apparently, there is a demo, or there was.
I've definitely liked some. I loved Lost in Play. I thought Lost in Play was great. I don't know if you guys played that one. But yeah, most of them tend to leave me more confused than...
That's
than
fair.
entertained, but
that's very
that's
fair.
kind of on me to a degree. I wanted to highlight a horror game that I think you both would be very intrigued by, and I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's called Silk Bulb Test.
Haven't heard of it.
Have you heard of that one?
Not at all.
So
I'm punching that in.
It looks. Take a look at that one. So there was a game that came out in 2024 for $1.99. It's sort of like a brief prologue, I guess, to Silk Bulb Test. Very reasonable amount of content for $1.99. I think it probably took me like 45 minutes to an hour to get through it. It has the same sort of lo-fi, limited mechanics sort of feel of something like, I don't know, Buckshot Roulette or something like that. But it's called Flathead. Is sort of the precursor to Silk Bulb Test. And Silk Bulb Test just, I don't even really know what it is, even after playing Flathead, but just looking at the screenshots and the trailer, I mean, you can tell what sort of darkly creative mind
Looks very
Tim Oxton
interesting.
has.
Yeah, rundown VHS style to it. Very horrific artwork. They have it tagged as a choose your own adventure. And the tags aren't always accurate, but
I don't know about the tags. I don't know if the people who did the tags even know what it's about. necessarily.
I'm
But
even
just-
trying to read through the description here, and it's not giving you much to work with.
All it's telling me is that we may have a seizure while playing.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
good.
Sometimes marketing like that is what intrigues you to play a game, though. So
Yeah, I've never played a game where you carry around a disembodied head on a stick, which seems to be what is happening in most of the screenshots.
Closest
That's, like,
I
the
would
most
say
know
is
about
Lollipop Chainsaw.
yes. Oh, where you
Yeah.
carry your boyfriend's head
Yeah.
around. Last game I'll shout out for today is they're making a Carmen Sandiego game. I love Carmen Sandiego as a kid. This is coming from Gameloft. They do a lot of these kind of cute. I think they did that Zorro game you play.
Yeah,
I
I
wanna
was
say,
thinking it looks similar to that.
which was not amazing but fun enough. And growing up, I was a big Carmen Sandiego fan. You probably remember being a kid and playing the computer game at some point, right? Like one of the first computer games I ever played, along with what's the one?
Oregon Trail.
Oregon Trail. Yes, thank
Yeah.
you. My memory fades me these days. So this is coming out Q1 of 2025, but the twist here is it's going to have some of those detective elements to it, but you're playing as Carmen Sandiego this time, which I feel like is something you never really get to do because you're always chasing Carmen Sandiego. Apparently they brought this show back. I don't know. I think it was a Netflix type deal.
Yeah.
So this seems to be based on that art style. I haven't seen the show, but I do want to play this just because I really like the character. It looks fun. It's actually got some third-person exploration action to it as well, not just solving puzzles. So that's one I've been very much looking forward to trying.
I feel like this could go either way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Could be really bad or pretty decent. Maybe in no world is it exceptional, but that's okay.
Yeah, it looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, I thought it looked fun. There's also a Lord of the Rings game that looks weird coming
Oh,
out.
yeah.
Tales of the Shire.
Yeah, I want to play that for sure.
It's like a cozy
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings
But I
game?
want to be in the Shire. That's like my life dream, man.
Yeah, this has been kicking around for a while too, and it does not look like my kind of game at all. Even though I love Lord of the Rings, I can't really get into the cozy thing.
It's my life goal to live in a hobbit house.
You know, I like the Shire and everything, but I don't necessarily want to water flowers. And
I don't either, but I want to live in a hobbit house. God damn it.
so there's that too. That's being published by Private Division, for what it's worth, and coming out in March. But there's just a lot of unknowns for 2025 still. So every year I find with the channel, there's something coming out and you had no idea it even existed or it was coming out as soon as it is. And I expect that to be very much the same this year. So we're probably going to get a lot of surprise releases that kind of pop up out of nowhere. And we're just going to be like, oh, damn, that's like the best game I've played this year. And I didn't even hear about it till this very moment.
We'll definitely get a lot of that. And even without that, though, there are so many games on my list that look so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna
Even
be a
if
fun
like
year.
a fraction of those games are good, I will be happy because there's so much coming out.
Do you think we're going to get the same sheer onslaught of indie games that we have since like 23 and 24, if not more? Do you think,
I
do you
think
think
we're
we are
going
going
to
to
get more.
Really?
I think
wow.
I think we're totally going to get more because at this point I'm still discovering games from 2024 that I completely missed, even though I really watch very closely. And sometimes they just
and
kind
which
of
is
get
crazy, right?
buried.
Because we run an indie channel and we still miss so many releases.
Yeah, it's impossible. It's like it's not like the AAA scene where everything is high profile and you can find something about it somewhere. Some of these games just have no marketing at all.
Zero. Yeah. And that's a real shame, unfortunately. But that's where I Dream of Indie Games comes in handy for all of you out there, right? You know, bringing a voice to these smaller releases. We try to cover as many as humanly possible. It's simply impossible to get them all, but you know, that's where the lists have been handy for a lot of folks too. So be sure to check out more of our lists. I got a bunch coming out. In fact, there's one coming out on Tuesday about emotional games that I put together. And that's short experiences. Actually, Barely Magic Mike helped me a lot of the ideas of games on that list.
Were you feeling rather emo when you made that list?
These games will leave you in tears for sure. And I'm working on another list right now regarding some of my favorite indie game soundtracks. So if you have any games you want to shout out in the Discord later to me, Mike, that you enjoy the music to, by all means.
Or anyone watching.
Or anyone listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're just going to see our heads floating around for like an hour or however long this is.
Just blinking.
It's not video. You'll see our blinking heads. But hopefully you're listening at work and you're enjoying this show. And if you are, you know, leave a comment down below and let us know how we can improve it because we have no script for this whatsoever. I literally just showed up and we started talking.
Do people script podcasts?
I feel like they come with a plan at least.
Oh.
Like, we're going to have this section. We're going to have this section. And I just don't have the time for that. I'd rather just bullshit with you all. It's easy enough. So, yeah, I think that's going to do it for this episode, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We will be back. If you are a patron, remember, you get this show like 3 days early. It's going to be Mondays for you. And Thursday, everyone else can enjoy it. Makes your workday go by. That's 1 hour less work now because you listen to us the entire way through.
Well, you might have been working this entire time.
Yeah, but it didn't feel like work because you were enjoying time with us, right?
And now you just added a bunch of stuff to your wish list for 2025. So
There
you're
you
welcome.
go. So we'll see you all next week for more indie gaming content right here at I Dream of Indie Games, voice to the voiceless. All right, we out.
Never do that again.
Do you have the courage to tackle the gaming echo chamber and give a voice to the voiceless? Subscribe to the channel for all your indie gaming needs and hop on over to patreon.com/idreamofindiegames for Discord access and exclusive perks. Join our amazing community and help I Dream of Indie Games shine brighter than ever. Voice to the voiceless and see you in the next video, Indie Warriors.